Hello, good day, and welcome to today's class. We are gradually moving to the last stage of the training, and in this video, we'll be working on a project. We've learned several things, and in this video, this particular class will be kind of bringing everything together. So in this video, we'll be working on a project, and this project is we'll be analyzing a research data, that is a questionnaire data, a KP study. I believe we should remember this particular questionnaire that we filled. So we're using this questionnaire. We're using the data set from the questionnaire. Yes. And if you remember, we already coded the questionnaire, and then this is what we have. Our SPSS file is coded already. We only need to paste in our data when it is time. But before we go on, when you have a data that you want to analyze like this one, so you already collected the data in Google form. First thing is, your data is somewhere. Presently, we have 376 responses, but how are you going to get these responses? Like, where is data? How are you going to get the data? For you to get the data, so this is Google form interface. Now if you are the one that created the questionnaire, or if you are giving access to the questionnaire, you will have something like this. If you click on the question, you see the questions. Then if you click on the response, you see all of these. Now these charts, and they are beautiful, but they are not really useful, because you cannot submit these as maybe the visualization for your research work or anything. You actually need to analyze the data yourself. So for you to do that, you need to get the data in an Excel or a CSV document. So to do that, you can do a number of things. You can click on these and just select download responses. But let's assume that you're not done with collecting your data. Maybe you just want to see the data in the sheet. You can click on this link to sheet, and then you can select an existing sheet, or create a new spreadsheet and give it a name that you want. Then click on create. I think then you'll be seeing it in a Google spreadsheet of its own, like a spreadsheet. You see the data there. As the questionnaire is being filled, you will see the data there. It will be increasing too. But I believe if you are already done with data collection, you can switch off this. You can off this, so that people will not be able to fill the questionnaire again. And then you can just click this and then click on download responses, so that you can download the CSV file. So it downloaded in a zip file. So you might need to just open the zip file and then extract it. So and just extract all, and then it will be somewhere on your system. So this is data now. If I double click it now, it will open on my system. And you can also go to your file, you find it there also. Okay, so this is the data, and this is our response. For the second method, that other one, if you come here and then you click on link to sheet and then click on create, so it's already creating a new spreadsheet. It's loading. So this is the data also. Now this is in a Google sheet spreadsheet. So to download it from via this route, click on file, then download. Then you can choose if you want an Excel file, or if you want a comma separated file. Either ways, you still get your data. So this is the data right here. And then so we have this time stamp, which I don't need actually, so I'm just going to remove that particular column. Now I have these are different questions in the questionnaire. So for me, the way I do my thing, you can actually take this into SPSS now. Then inside SPSS, you code each responses to numbers, so that it will make sense. I believe you all remember all of that. But the way I do my own thing, well, the way I do my own thing, I'm going to record this to number in Excel, which will just be using find and replace. Then it is those numbers that I will paste into SPSS. For me to do that, I'm going to divide my screen into two. Then I want to be seeing the questionnaire here so that I can like guide me. So I'll just come to the first column, which is the age, and then I'm just going to say Control H to give me the find and replace dialog box. So the first one is 18 to 24. So 18 to 24. I already know how I coded it in SPSS. 18 to 24 is 1. So 18 to 24, then I'll click on replace all. Then the next one, 25 to 34. And I'll make that 2. Then replace okay. Oh shoot, 25 to 24. Okay, replace. Then the next one, 35 to 44. Then we'll call that 3. Then the next one, 45 to 54. I doubt if you have that. 45 to 54. Then we'll call that 4. Definitely we don't have someone that old, or someone that old did not fill the questionnaire. Wait, okay, we have 1 here. So I'm just going to, okay, we have 2. So I'll just copy that so that I can use it in the find and replace. Let's do find and replace again. Then paste this here, then replace. Okay, so we are good now. So that's good for that. Then for gender, let's confirm what I did, what I coded for gender. So for gender, we have 1 for male and 2 for female. Okay, that is good. So I'm not going to come here and find and replace again. Then male 1, then female. Okay, we can see, let's just Control Z and do that again. We can see that this is not looking very good. So Control H. And when I put male here, I need to check match entire cell contents, and that is good. Then next thing, female for 2. And then we are good. So the next one is the occupation. So I believe student is coded for 1. Oh, okay. And then employed for 2. Self-employed for 3. And then we have unemployed for 4. Then we have others. I just want to check manually. So since we don't have others there, so we are good. Level of education. So for level of education now, we have high school. That is 1. Undergraduate. That is 2. Okay, spelling is wrong. Undergraduate, that is 2. Then we have graduate, that is 3. Then we have postgraduate, that is 4. Okay, spelling is wrong. Then let's see, do we have others here? Okay, we have 1 others. Okay, let's just manually check those orders and then let's see. uh okay, for orders 1 2 3 4 5, that will be 5. I'm just going to call this 5, though if this is um okay, let's just call it 5. And then almost a graduate, that's undergraduate, right? So we're just going to call that 2. Bachelor's, that's graduate, so we are going to call that 3. So it's good to sometimes check manually, especially for the others part. So okay, that is good. Now the next part is all strongly agree. All of this, how did we code that? Let's confirm. So for these guys, we coded strongly agree, disagree, neutral agree. So we coded 1 to 5 this way. I think that's what we actually did for everything. Okay, so for what we just do, we might not even need to, let me just make this one bigger. So for this one now, I'm not going to select, I won't select any column. I can also select, so Control H, and I'm just going to say, okay, if I say strongly disagree, then call it 1, then disagree would be 2, then neutral would be 3, then agree 4, then strongly agree would be 5. So if we check through now, we've been able to all the questions in sections C and D, we've been able to code them to numbers. For me, this is easier than doing it in SPSS. Okay, or I just prefer this option. So for this one, let's divide the screen again. So section D, how often do you create? So for section D now, and then I still need to say, okay, I think never would be 1 in this case. Let's confirm. Yeah, never is even 0, so that's 0 to 4. So it's necessary that you know how you coded it in SPSS, or you can actually do it simultaneously. So okay, so never is 0, and then really 1. They're saying there's no really there. Okay, then we have sometimes for 2, then we have often for 3, and then always for 4. So if you try to check manually, let's see, we don't have any really. Okay, for the next question, which select all that apply. So let's still leave this particular, yeah, let's leave this particular variable for now, this particular question. So let's go to question 17. How often do you feel you accomplished your planned tasks for the day? So for this one, never will also be, never will be 0. So that means we don't have never. Then we have rarely form 1. Then we have sometimes. Sometimes for 2. Then we have often 3. And then always 4. Okay, that is good. Also for the next one, how do you typically undo expected tax or interruption? So for this one, I'll just come here to copy it. I believe that should be the one from 1. You can confirm. Mm, yeah, that's correct. So then I'll put 1 here, replace all. Then for the next one, prioritize new tax. Then that's 2. Next one, define new tax to later time. That's 3. Ignore new tax. That's 4. Then okay, we still have others here, and then we know others is 5. So I'm just going to put the 5 like manually. 5, 5. Though it's necessary that you actually, those things that people said there, you can copy it somewhere just to note it. Maybe when you are writing your discussion, that's necessary too. Okay, so I think that is good. And then we also have question 19. Something that has been changed here already, no problem. But we know that for this one, very unsatisfied. So it's only neutral that has been changed. Very unsatisfied would be 1, most likely. Yes, that's it. But is that question 20? Yeah, it's question 20. So very unsatisfied. Very unsatisfied is 1. Probably the spelling. Oh, it is very dissatisfied that we have here. So very, very dissatisfied. Okay. Then we have unsatisfied. Then we have dissatisfied. That is 2. Then neutral has changed already. Then we have satisfied. Then very satisfied. Okay, I think there's a mistake. Yeah, satisfied should be 4. Yeah, then very satisfied 5. Then we have this for the last section. So we are going to actually ignore this part of the questionnaire, because actually if it is a paper questionnaire it will be easier to actually work with. It will be way easier to work with this part, but let's just ignore it. Maybe later on, if it's a paper questionnaire, it will be easier for you to enter it here. I already explained how all this works, but let's just ignore it. Maybe later on I'm going to release a short video on how to deal with questions like grid like questions like this if you use electronic means to collect your data. Similar thing also this particular question. Also, if it's a paper questionnaire, it will be easier to enter it in SPSS, and then the analysis will be seamless. But I have a video on Excel on how you can analyze multiple choice questions like this with Excel. So maybe I'll tag the video under this particular post so that you can watch that, so that you can know how to analyze this one. Do you regularly? We've not converted this one. Oh, that's question 19. So let's do this one before we go to SPSS. So never would be 0. Really would be 1. Sometimes 3. Sometimes 2. Often 3. Then always 4. So we are good now. So I can now copy and paste this data into SPSS. So I'm going to copy the demographic data first without the column header. I don't need the column headers. I'll copy and I'll just go to SPSS to paste it. I'll delete this. I think that was the sample I gave before. So I'll just paste it here. I don't need this serial number, so I'm going to just delete the column. Then I'm going to copy section B and C also. So section B and C should finish here. Just put my cursor here, then I'll paste it. Yeah, so that's section B and C. Then for section D, I want to copy this one by one to be sure of what I'm doing. How often? Yes. This particular one is the question 16, and we are not dealing with that, so we can just delete everything because we are not working with it at all. So clear, I've deleted those variables. Then can now do 17, 18, 19. Abi? Can do the remaining questions 17, 18, 19, 20. I'll just copy those ones also, then paste it here. Mm, 1, 2. Okay, let's do it one by one. So 17 and 18. I'll just copy it and then paste it here. We know that this 18 orders is not exactly relevant, so I'm going to delete it. Then I can now copy the other two, the last two variables. Then I'll paste it. I'm also going to delete all the like the e section, because we will not really be working with it for this particular class. So now this is our data. Our data is in SPSS already, and then we can go on with the analysis. So we already have our data, and then we can actually jump into our analysis, but it really doesn't work that way. When you have your data, you can't exactly jump into your analysis, because the analysis will be based on the research question or the research objectives and the research hypothesis. So you actually need that information before you can go into analyzing your data, or before you can actually analyze your research data, very well. You're not just going through the analysis and doing it without a focus. You should have a focus. You should have something that is guiding you, and that is the research objective, the research question, and the research hypothesis. So for this particular project that we are working on, I came up with some research questions that will guide us. And so these are the research questions. So we have, so what is the level of knowledge regarding time management among the participants? We also want to know, yeah, the level of their attitude. So what are the different time management practice that the participants carry out? I'm not sure if we can answer this, because we didn't deal with that particular, we didn't bring in that variable into SPSS. But if you follow the video I'm going to tag, then you should be able to answer that particular question. Then now we have three more questions. So we now have our research question. So let's assume maybe it's not even your project, maybe you are helping someone. You need to tell them to send their, I don't know, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, so that I can know, you can read through the project and then see, okay, this is what this person is working on, this is what this person wants to find out, using like the research question. And now from the research question, most people don't know how to come up with their hypothesis, but so you might see their research question, but you might not see anything about the hypothesis. From the research question, you can actually know the hypothesis or come up with the hypothesis. So the thing is, your research question, some of those questions you'll be able to answer them by just using descriptive analysis, by just finding mean, median, mode, data visualization and the likes. But some of those questions you need to actually carry out some statistical tests before you can answer those questions. So here now, these three questions, we can answer them by doing descriptive analysis. Why these other three, we have to actually carry out some statistical tests before we can answer those questions. And then based on these research question, then I came up with these different hypotheses that we will be testing, based on our data. Yes, so we can now go back to SPSS and start our analysis. So even though you have your research question, for any form of research, the first thing you need to do, the first type of analysis you need to do, is descriptive analysis. And that is what the descriptive analysis for the socio-demographic variable. So we want to know, okay, how many respondents in total do you have? Then based on age group, based on gender, and all your socio-demographic variables that you've collected, we need to know the proportion. So that's the first thing you need to do. So I'm just going to create a new Word document. Yeah, so I'm just going to maybe write data analysis here, because I will be pasting my tables here. Or can also create an Excel workbook where I'll be, yeah, let's see. So we are working with an Excel sheet, we are working with this new Word document, and then yeah. So for the age group now, we don't need to actually group it into age group. We already have it in form of age group. So you can go to, I'm just going to go to analyze, then descriptive statistics, then frequency. So I'll just, when you right click this, you can say you want to see the variable names alone. So I'll just take in all my demographic variable into the box because I want to know the frequency table. I want to get a frequency table for all of them. Statistics, I think, yeah, I don't need any of that. So I'll just click on OK, and then we have a frequency table for everything. So we can see that we have 376. We have 376 respondents in total, and for all these variables we don't have any missing value. Okay, that is good. So for age now, you can do something like, you can copy this now, copy. So if you right click, then you've copied the table, you can paste it in your Word document. Then if you know a bit about how to maybe format your table, you click on this now, go to table layout, no, table design, then choose this, then you have this form of table. You still need a lot of editing. It's not looking nice for your, maybe for your project work. So for me, sometimes I go to Excel and I just paste the table in Excel. Then I might just copy out the part that I need alone, which might be this part, then copy. Then this will now be what I will take into Microsoft Word. I'm not going to delete this. So this table is like at least good to a particular, it's not bad. Then I'll go to table design, then change the layout. Then I can also change the home, and then maybe change the font, change the size, change the color. It should be black. Then you can also just click into this first box and go to table layout and increase the width so that it will look better. So we have here now, you can now write age group here. So now this is the frequency. Then this one, you might have to write it as percentage, maybe put symbol inside and all of that. So with this now, we now have a frequency table for the age group. We can see that okay, we have 193 respondents fell between 18 to 24 years, and then that accounted for 51.3%. To interpret this table now, you can have something like almost half of respondents. I'm not exactly an expert at data interpretation, or you guys going to make a video for that, but you can have something like more than half of respondents, we are more than half of the respondents more than half of the respondents we are between 18 to 24 years of age. Something, you can have something like more than half of the respondents, then you put 193, then maybe open bracket 51.3%. So more than half, 193 open bracket 51.3% of respondents we are between 18 to 24 years of age. Then you also incorporate the ones for others. To is data interpretation is really just English, so you have to know how to frame everything for it to make sense. So this table now, well, some lecturers want their table to be formatted in APA style, and for the APA style is, you can search online the for the format. But one thing you need to do, they will not want all this border, so the table is going to look like this. So I'm just going to select this to select the table, then go to table layout, and then okay, table design, then first remove all the borders by clicking on no borders. Then you can now select the table headers, and then come here and choose bottom and top border, then select the last row and then choose bottom border. So APA style table usually look like this. You can still search online for more information on that. So that's that. So we've gotten the frequency table for what, for the age group, and we've also gotten for other demographic variables. So gender, so sometimes you might want to mix it up, use table for some, use charts for some. So maybe if I want to use charts for gender now, for me, you can create your chart in SPSS, but I prefer to create my chart in Excel. So for me, I just copy the frequency table I got here, and then I paste it into my Excel. I paste to my Excel, then I just select the part of the data, or yeah, select that, then go to insert, then choose my chart, my pie chart, and then format it as I want. Maybe I want to show the category name, I want to show percentage, and I want to show everything in new line, and I want to show it outside. It's just formatting of the chart. So can delete this, then give it a befitting title, maybe respondent by gender. Then you can copy the chart, then paste it into your Word document. So like this, the result section is already like taking shape. So okay, so that's that with the descriptive analysis of the demographic variable. But you also need to do descriptive analysis for your other sections too. So for example, we have our section B here, which is actually titled, section B is titled knowledge. So maybe knowledge of time management. So you might come here and then just write, it depends, it comes in different form, and maybe write knowledge of time management. Maybe that's another section in your result section, to knowledge of time management. And then really what I do is I just get, so I get that table and I paste it in Microsoft Word. So that didn't work. I'm just going to create another table that looks like this. So I know I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 questions, then 5 options also. So to create a table in Word, insert, go to insert, then click on table. So I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Column header, that is 6. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have this, then I know, okay, this is the each question. Then strongly disagree, you write those in full: strongly disagree, disagree, neutral, agree, then strongly agree. Then for the questions, let's see if I can copy the questions. Let's say I'm copying from Word. I'm not going to have any issues. It will copy the table. So let's say, yeah, that is good. So now I'm just going to try to resize this. Let's make this bigger. Then I want to try to move my table. Anyways, we will have something like this. That's the point. We can reduce these ones to, let's see, oh no. So I'm just trying to make the table look better. That's all of this. Then let's make this one wider. Oh, it's copied everything. Okay. Okay. I now understand where the problem is coming from. Okay, so the point is you want this type of table to be here. You want this type of table to be here, and then you do descriptive analysis for the responses that you got for the questions in this table. So we can also just go to SPSS. That is section B. So we can go to analyze, then descriptive, then frequency again. So I'm going to click on reset to remove everything. Now change this to variable name. I want to bring everything under section B into the box. Then I still just want the frequency table, so I'll click on OK. So now I have frequency table for each item under section B. So for that you need to enter. The problem is the result will not be displayed the way you actually want it, so you have to kind of do a manual data entry to get what you want. So here now we don't have strongly disagree here, so I can just put 0 then 0%. But so this place means the frequency, then the one in the bracket means the percent. You can indicate that here or create a new row so indicate that. So for this first question now, I understand how to prioritize tasks. That's what I am working on, and that is this line. So the next one is disagree, and then we have 4 response. So you put 4, and the percentage for that 4 is 1.11. So open bracket 1.1, and you close the bracket. The next one, neutral. For neutral we had 32 responses, then the percentage is 18.5. So open bracket 18.5. Then the next one we have agree. We have 202 responses, and for that percentage is 53.7. And then the last one, for strongly agree, we have 138 responses, and then the percentage is 36.7. So this is exactly what you will do for the other cells. You enter the data for the other cells, and then you can still come down here to explain to like just explain. For example, this particular row also, we can see that more than half of respondents, they agree that they understood how to prioritize tasks effectively and all of that. So we need to do the same thing for section C, and then for section D also we need to do descriptive analysis for section D. For that one, I believe we should be able to handle that one. So you just need to come here for each question. You can even right click and just choose descriptive analysis. So what we need here is the table. So get the table and all of that, and then maybe you want to put it into charts, maybe you want to put it into table and put it in your result session. So that is descriptive analysis. Okay, but apart from that also, now we are doing a KP study. So when you are doing a KP study, sometimes you want to get what we call an aggregate score for the knowledge, and then an aggregate score for the attitude. So you can see that for the knowledge and attitude section, we have a number of questions, and each of these questions actually carries mark, like the 1 to 5 thing that we coded it for. So one thing is we can actually find the mean of all those of those scores for each respondent, so that each respondent have a knowledge score and each respondent have an attitude score. And from the knowledge score of a particular respondent, you can actually say, oh, this respondent have a high knowledge, or this respondent have a low knowledge, or this respondent have a medium knowledge. The same thing also applies for attitude. So some people do sum, while some people do mean. So I'm going to go with mean. Even some people actually do median also to get the aggregate score. For me, I'm going to go with mean, and because I'm going with mean, then I also need to find standard deviation later on. Okay, so now really the next thing is to find the mean of all the responses, so that we can get the knowledge score for each participant and then the attitude score for each participant. But really can't just go ahead like that because of a particular reason. We have some questions that we call negatively coded. Chooses strongly agree, then the person will get 5 as the score. I am confident in using tools like calendar. The person will also get 5 as the score. But then this next question is a reverse coded question because it is coded in a negative way. It is saying time management techniques are too complicated. So if a person chose strongly agree in this case, then that means that person does not actually manage their time very well, or the person have issues with time management. So therefore in this case, strongly agree should actually carry 1 instead of 5, because the question is a reverse coded question. So what this means is that for this question now, we need to go to SPSS and recode the question. Okay, so another negative question in this section B is there is no point in planning out the day as things rarely go as planned. That's another negative question and we have to recode it. Why for the attitude section, this first question, I feel overwhelmed by the amount of work I have to do. It's also a negative question, so we have to recode it. And then I tend to prioritize urgent tasks over important but less urgent tasks. That's also a negative question and we have to recode it. So when it comes to, we know how to recode variables, right? So it's either you want to recode it into the same variable or you want to recode into another variable. I think I'm going to prefer recording into another variable in this case. So I'm just going to go to transform and choose recode into different variable, and then the variables that we want to record, I'll change this to display variable name. We want to record um this variable, this b3. It might not be b3, I know. Okay, it's b3. Yeah, we want to record b3. Then we want to record b5. Also we want to record c1. Then we want to record c5. So for each one you have to give it a new name. So let's say I just want to call it b3r. Maybe that stands for b3 recorded. You can rename it anyway, just make sure you take note of it. Then this one, b5r c1. Did I remove it? So c1r, then c5r. Then we need to come here. So now if you remember my illustration, you know that anything that carried 1 before, it's actually meant to be 5. Then anything that carried 2 should be 4. And then 3 is literally still the same thing. Then 1 to 3. Then 4 is should be 2. And then 5 should be 1. I really hope we get this part. So then click on continue, then okay. Then you see that we now have 4 new variables, and because we've recorded all the variables accordingly, then we can now go back to, we can now create our knowledge score and attitude score. To create knowledge score now, still transform data, then we go to compute variable. We want to use mean, but I already explained that you can as well use some median depending on maybe your supervisor or the, I don't know, depending on a lot of other reasons. So to use mean now, you come here and choose statistics, then choose mean, and then click this to put it inside this box. So I know that knowledge is the B part and then attitude is C. So yeah, I'm going to just call it maybe K score, which stands for knowledge score. And then I need to bring these guys in one by one and separate each one by a comma. We just separate, bring everything. Okay, don't forget that we recorded some. So we recorded b3 and b5. So that means the b3 and b5 that I will put here is actually the one here. It's important not to forget that, not to make mistake with that. So then b4. So that might be a reason why some people might go with recording into the same variable so as not to make that mistake, but this is also fine. So b1, b2, b3 that has been recorded, b4, then b5 that has been recorded. I'm not going to click on OK now. Variable name contains a legal character. That's because of the space. I will replace that with underscore. And if I click on OK now, then now we have a new variable, which is what? the knowledge score. So let's create attitude score. So transform compute variable, and then I'll just change that to A score, which stands for attitude score. And then let's delete all of these, and then just bring in, no, we recorded C1 and C5, so C1 comma, then C2 comma, C3 comma, C4 comma, then C5, then we should be good. And now we have a new variable for attitude score also. We can also do descriptive analysis for this new variable. So I'm just going to right click and then just click on descriptive, and then we have mean, median, standard deviation, range, minimum and maximum. And you can do the same thing for attitude score, descriptive, and then we have the mean, the median, the standard deviation, range, and all of those things. So you can create a table for these two in your Word document also. Okay, so now we can see that each respondent now have a knowledge score and an attitude score. And with this knowledge score and attitude score, we can actually say whether a respondent have a high, low or medium attitude score. Or concerning the attitude, through this score, we can know if a respondent has a positive, negative or neutral attitude to time management. So how can we actually know this? We can know it by grouping the scores. So because the total score that can be gotten is like 5, if we divide 5 by 3, we have 1.33. So we can have something that's okay if it is less than 1.33, or if it's less than or equal to 1.33, then the person has a low knowledge. If it's between 1.33 to 3.34, then the person has medium knowledge. While if it is greater than 3.34, then the person has high knowledge. The same thing is going to apply to attitude also. So let's do that. So we'll go to still transform, then record into different variable. Let's just reset, and then this time around we will be dealing with the knowledge score first. So knowledge score, maybe we are just going to call that knowledge categories. Change, then we have to come here, then we'll be using range. So we can say 0, so we cannot have 0 to 1.33, then we are going to call that 1. Then we can say 1.34 to 0 to 1.33, let's just say 1.331 to 3.34, then we'll call that 2. Then we can also say all others, then we'll call that 3. So then continue, then okay. So we have a new variable for knowledge now, and we can now come here and now say, and now assign it a value that 1 actually means low knowledge. Then 2 means medium knowledge. Then 3 means high knowledge. So if you come here now, we might want to know, okay, how many of our respondents falls into the different knowledge category. So let's just right click and click on descriptive. We can see that none of the respondents fell into, like, has no knowledge, and that's very good. While 82.4% has high knowledge, and then 17.6% has medium knowledge. So we can do the same thing for attitude. Let's just go to transform, compute into different variable, and this time around we bring in the attitude score. Then let's just also call it attitude category. Change, then for this still works. I'm not going to click on okay, then okay, and now we have a new variable. Then we need to also assign the value. So 1 is going to be for negative attitude, and then 2 will be for neutral attitude, and then 3 will be for positive attitude. And then let's also look at the attitude of our respondents. So we have positive and neutral attitude only also. So that is also, that's also very good. So now we are done with like descriptive analysis of the different variable, and we've even created four new variables based on the initial variables that we have. Let's go back to our research question and see if we've actually started answering our research question. So the first one is, what is the level, like it's talking about the level of of knowledge on time management, and we can see that we've actually answered that. First we created the knowledge score, and we also created the mean of the overall mean of the knowledge score. We actually call that mean of mean because we first find a mean that used to get the knowledge score for each participant. Then we also find the overall mean, which is the one here. So this overall mean is 3.84, and we can actually interpret this 3.84 now based on the scale we use. We can see that means what our participants actually have was a high knowledge of time management. And for the attitude also, the mean is 3.49, is also greater than 3.34. And what is that also telling us? That is telling us that our participants actually have what high, like our participants have positive attitude to time management. Also, we can also use this to also answer that question. You can use this, you can make it into a chart, you can just present the tables like this. 82.4% of participants have high knowledge and all of that. So we've been able to actually answer the first two research questions, which is about the knowledge and attitude of participants. As I said, we will not be dealing with this one. And for the next one, do the level of knowledge and attitude towards time management, does it vary based on demographic characteristics? So now when you have a question like this question is actually going to this question will require inferential statistics, but it also requires some descriptive analysis. For example, you have to look at the question. If we split it now, do the level of knowledge, does it vary based on demographic characteristics? So let's deal with knowledge alone. So that means we need one variable that is talking about the knowledge, and then we need the variables talking about what the demographic characteristics. For the variable talking about the knowledge, now we have two variables we can use. We can use the knowledge score, and we can also use the knowledge can use the knowledge score, and we can also use the knowledge category. Both can actually work. If you are using the knowledge score, because this knowledge score is a numerical variable, then that means you'll be using the likes of maybe ANOVA or t-test, depending on the number of groups in the demographic variable that you are dealing with. Why, if we are using the knowledge category, since this is a categorical column, then in this case we'll be dealing with chi-square or official exact test, depending on if the assumptions are met. So well, the choice of the one you go with, really it might it might just depend on the one with the probably the most favorable results, really. So let's see. So if we want to compare if knowledge score varies based on age group now, because age group has like four categories, it has more than two categories. That means we are talking about ANOVA if all assumptions are met, right? So we can just go to analyze and then descriptive, then explore. So here we have to put in knowledge score, and then for the factor list, that one we have the age category. So we need, this is good. For the plots we need histogram, and then we need the normality plot. So continue, then okay. So looking at the results we got here now, we can see that the data is not, our p-value is less than 0.05, which means that we are going to reject the null hypothesis that the data is normally distributed. Therefore, the conclusion is that the data is not normally distributed. So we have to go with the non-parametric test. in this case, which will be um Krukas test. In fact, most times with KPI studies, when you are trying to compare maybe knowledge score or attitude score with demographic variables, I just go for the non parametric test. Yeah, so that means we are using Krukas test to check for this, and I'll just check for the other I'll check for this one and this one, because they also have more than two categories. Right, for gender I will use man whitening you test. So analyze, then we go for non attitude score, knowledge score, and the attitude score, and the grouping variable for this one will be the age, and then define range, that will be 1 to 4. Then continue. We've already checked Caswalis test here, so click on OK. Then let's see. So we can see that p-value is greater than 0.05, which means that our conclusion is that we fail to reject the null hypothesis, which means that there is actually no significant difference in knowledge score across the different age group. Let's check for the other demographic variables. Question do we have? Let me just confirm before I run the test. Occupation, we have 1 to 5, and for level of education we have 1 to 5 also. Okay, so let's go to analyze non-parametric, and then occupation 1 to 5, and then we are coming to the same conclusion also. P-value is greater than 0.05, which means there is no significant difference. Okay, let's do level of education 1 to 5, and then we also have the same conclusion. Then for gender we can use man whitening you test for gender. Test variable, still these guys. Then grouping variable is gender 1, 2. Wow. So for gender we can see that p-value is less than 0.05, and what this means is that, okay, it's less than 0.05 for knowledge score. What this means is that for knowledge score there is significant difference in knowledge score between males and females, while for attitude there is no significant difference in attitude between male and female. So if you want to actually answer your question by using the knowledge score, this is how you will go about it. Then you will do your data interpretation, then discussion, and all of that. So we've answered this particular question, the knowledge we've answered this question using Kukas test and man whitening you test. And I also said it's possible to actually answer the question also using chi-square, but for that we'll be using the knowledge category and then the attitude category column, and not the score directly. And also for that you might want to rephrase this question, because chi-square is going to check for association between variables. So you might want to rephrase the research question to something like, is there significant association between knowledge between knowledge and demographic variable? Then chi-square will be like an ideal test to use. So the next question that we have here is that what is the relationship between knowledge and attitude of participants towards time management? So for this one we can also use the score or the category. If we are using the score, then that means we are dealing with two numerical variables, and for that we can use the Pearson correlation. We have hypothesis that is actually dealing with that here, and the hypothesis is that there is no significant relationship between knowledge and attitude towards time management. So we'll be using chi-square to test that. I didn't mention hypothesis for the test that we run initially, but I believe we should be able to figure it out. And these the hypotheses are what is written here anyways. So analyze, then correlate, then we might want to make a scatter plot first. So let's create a scatter plot and then let's just visually see it. So here, knowledge score, then attitude score, then okay. Okay, let's do Pearson correlation and then let's see. So this is Pearson correlation. Okay, then okay. So yeah, now we can see 0.3. Can see that Pearson correlation coefficient is 0.394, and first there's a positive correlation. It's going like this. There's a positive correlation, and 0.394. I think that's maybe a weak positive correlation, and we can see that the p-value is what 0.00. That is less than 0.05. And what is that telling us? That's telling us that that's a significant correlation. So there's a significant correlation. There's a significant positively weak correlation between what knowledge score and attitude score. And for the last question is about is this the hypothesis? It's saying there is no significant association between frequency of time management plan creation and then satisfaction with productivity level. Actually, there are two questions that are dealing with this. So, well, maybe this is not exactly phrased perfectly, but you should get the gist. One question is asking of how frequent people make plans. Maybe it's daily, weekly, monthly, and the likes. And then another question is asking how people are satisfied with their productivity level. So we want to check if there's actually an association between those two variables. So let's go here. I hope I know where the questions are. Let's see. Okay, so I'm talking about this D15. How often do you create a daily or weekly plan? And then we also have how satisfied are you with your current level of productivity. So that's D15 and D20. So the two variables are categorical variables, and we want to check for association between two categorical variables. Then we are going to use what chi-square. So analyze, descriptive, cross tab, then can just reset and then bring in our variables D15, then D20, chi-square, exact, okay, onto the chart, and then let's see. This is the results of the test. This is the clustered bar chart, and then here we can see that p is less than 0.05. So our conclusion is that there is significant association between the two variables if we're actually going with the chi-square test. But we can see that 8 cells actually didn't meet the criteria of having not less than 5. So we're meant to use Fisher's exact test, but it's saying it cannot compute because there is insufficient memory. I don't know what that means. Let me try to run the test again. Okay, so I actually ran the test again and I'm getting the same results. I'm not sure what the issue is actually. I hope we get the point actually. So really that's that about analyzing this particular survey data set. I hope you've actually learned a lot from this, and I'll see you in tomorrow's class where we'll be analyzing another data set, but this time around is not a survey data. It's a data that is gotten from a research I carried out in the lab. So okay, that's that. See you tomorrow.